Welcome to Those Guys Sports. It is your boy Mike, and this is my Raptors Weekly podcast. Now, in my Raptors Weekly podcast, we got to talk about the week that just happened. Of course, I already made the video about the guy behind me, Fred VanVleet, is gone. Freddie V, Mr. Bet on Yourself, is gone. We don't have Freddie V. It sucks. It's sad. We're all sad as Raptor fans. I get it. It hurts us. All that fancy stuff that we can say, it's all washed away, thrown down. We don't have our point guard. What are the Raptors gonna do? Blah blah blah. No. Okay, there's still light at the end of this tunnel. So we're gonna talk about some Fred. Of course, the new Pascal news about what Michael Green said on the Raptors show with Will Lou, and what do I think about that? What are we really thinking about that? Of course, we got to talk about what does this team plan on doing? Is it going to be point Scotty? What does the rest of the week, next week, look like for the Raptors? Do they plan on trading a Boucher, a Thad? For me, maybe you trade I'm thinking a Precious Achiuwa. You tell me. Now, all in all, we just have to see what's next, right? And that's why we're here. That's why we're here today. That's why you're talking to me today. That's why you're listening to me today. We're here to see what exactly this Raptor team is going to do. But first, we talk about if we lose Fred VanVleet, we keep Jakob Poeltl. Gary Trent decided to re-up and sign extra. There's potential of a longer deal that's about to happen with a Gary Trent. Losing Fred sucks. And we just seen him post on Instagram that he was happy with Toronto. He's glad that they took this undrafted rookie and they made him who he was today. He became a father of three with the Raptors. He became an NBA champion with the Raptors. He said he was the most beloved because at one point Fred was loved. He was loved a lot. He became an all-star. And then he became the most hated. Now, do I think it's a little dramatic out of Fred or a little petty of Fred to mention? A little bit, maybe like a 10%. But is he right? He's right. We started hating him. Fred became really hated with the Raptor fan base. Now, when I speak about the Raptor fan base, I talk about a specific part of it. I'm talking about the ones who became Raptor fans after 2019. I'm not talking about the ones who watched this team have a Michael Petrus, had a Hedo Turkoglu, had these old Orlando Magic players on this team thinking you're going to do something with them. I'm not talking about the Raptor fans who watched Sean Marion with Chris Bosh and thought something was going to happen, or saw that one first 20 odd games of Andrea Bargnani become an all-star potential snub. No, I'm not talking about those Raptor fans. I'm talking about the fans who watched Kawhi shot and thought, oh, this team is so good. This team, Kawhi is the best player of all time. No, like, you guys don't understand. You guys weren't here for the bad. So losing a Fred does ultimately suck as a Raptor fan because you want this team just to be good. You want them to be good because you're not used to it. I know it's been 7 good years for the Raptors, but I'm still not used to it. And you don't get used to winning, okay? You want to get used to it. You want to get normalized to it and feel like, you know what, this is good. Raptor fans that are now used to all this, please don't comment on Twitter. Please stop saying you want to trade every single player because you don't get it. You don't get what's like losing the guy behind me. You don't get it. Like, you're not understanding what it's like to lose Fred VanVleet, what it's like to lose a point guard that helped your team win. Yes. Did Fred take some shots that you question? Of course he did. You're not going to always like every shot that person makes. You're not always going to feel like, yes, they're making the right moves. You're not always going to feel that way. It's just the way it is. And sometimes he would shoot a three, and I made a video about him shooting a three in that last game against Chicago. I hated that three. And everyone knows the three I'm speaking of. That three made me mad. I hated it. He didn't have to take it. We were down 4. He could have drove. He could have found a better play. Sometimes he shoots ridiculous shots, but sometimes he makes those ridiculous shots. And when he makes it, we're all in love. And when he misses them, we all hate him, which is just the concept of sports. It's sports in a nutshell. Well, with Fred, he said what he said in his quote. He was hated. He was hated. It happens. But as a Raptor fan, you have to realize, what part did you play in all this? Did you feel like we kind of pushed them out of the door? Potentially. I'm hoping that's not the case. Or maybe we did. But ultimately speaking, the Houston Rockets were just paying him more money. There's a report I saw on Twitter already, which you can't always rely on people who talk on Twitter, but it had said, but the person was a reputable person. I think it was a writer, and he talked about the fact that Fred, the Raptors were willing to make him the number one paid player on the team. That couldn't be true, because if that was the case, Fred would have stayed. I think the money did play a factor. I think it did play. I think it was probably 90% of the factor was the fact that like he wanted the money, and I don't believe Messiah and Bobby truly wanted to pay him all that money. You can't. You can't justify paying Fred VanVleet $40 million if you're a Raptors organization that was 41-41. Now, if you're Houston, with all that cap space, you can feel that out. You can consciously tell yourself that what the movie made was right. You can feel like, what? This organization needs a leader. We have guys like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Sengun. We need a point guard to lead these guys. They literally got him, Dylan Brooks, Jeff Green to help this team with its leadership. So obviously they felt like it had to be better. And you don't blame them for wanting to feel like it had to be better. They felt like it had to be better. And I do think they did a better job with making the Houston Rockets better. How much better? The West is a pretty good conference. We're going to have to wait and see on all that. Is he going to have the type of thing that Jalen Brunson did? No. Well, the Knicks were arguably a more talented team than the Houston Rockets. But thank you, Fred, for everything you've done, Fred. You hit some big shots in the finals. You guarded a Steph Curry. You got a vote to be MVP in the finals. So you're an all-star. You're a top, 12 Raptor of all time. I think someone may have said like you're top like 7. So whatever. Who knows? Fred, we love the story, undrafted, to become who he was today. These are the things that, make you love sports. The story makes you love sports. So really shout out to Fred as a whole. Great job by him. Now, with the Raptors, let's talk about Jakob Poeltl. It's funny with this whole Fred VanVleet thing. No one's talking about Jak. We did sign Jak. Now, did he really want to be a part of a team that doesn't have Fred when Fred helped him a lot with his pick and roll offense and ability to score? Yeah, I don't think Jak wanted that. So now is it up to Pascal and Scott to become better pick and roll maestros? Yeah, it's up to them too. They got to be better with a Poeltl. They should be in the gym right now with a Jakob Poeltl, making their games better, performing at the level that we need to expect them to perform. But we signed Jak to a 20-year for 4-year contract. I believe the last year is a player option. I'm hoping it's a team option, but I think it's a player option. Fine. I'm glad we have Jak back. We have a center. It's funny, we lose our center, but we didn't have a center. Now we have a center. Now having a center, and then we lose our point guard. But then we got Dennis Schroeder from the Lakers. We got Dennis Schroeder for a 2-year, $26 million. Once again, I think it's a team option for the last one, so you're not that worried about it. It's not. I think it's a team option. If it's not, that it's fully guaranteed. Once again, either or, it's still fine. I think Schroeder is good. Do I think he's going to start? I see people already I think if you don't know the Raptors, you may think he's starting. He's not starting. He's coming off the bench. Now they could have promised him a starting spot. I'm hoping they did not, because I do think if you're about to pay Gary Trent like a 3-4-year contract worth $120 million, I don't think you did that to not start him. I think you definitely did it, even though he really came back not knowing the fact that Poeltl was going to stay or Fred was going to stay. So I'm pretty sure a guy like a Gary Trent is going to be okay with coming off the bench or starting. But I kind of think with the lack of scoring now, or lack of shooting, I should say, that losing Fred does, you're going to need a Gary to come in. But yeah, so Gary stayed. We got Dennis Schroeder to, I think, lead our bench unit. And we got Jalen McDaniels. Now, people love Jaden McDaniels, his brother. I like Jalen McDaniels too. I think someone that the Raptors have been interested in for a while now. a good wing player. He did shoot the three pretty well. Well, we don't need someone to be shooting. He's not gonna shoot 40%. He can shoot about 33 to 35% shooting the three. And I don't think that's horrible for this team when it just ultimately needs better shooters. Still a great defender. He's a pretty good defender. So you have another 3-and-D wing. Now you can see the Raptors have a lot of 3-and-D guys, but I think if he can, give you some solid minutes, then if you can get some minutes out of Otto Porter, like I was saying with Amit Man on my podcast before, if we can get 40 games of Mr. Porter, that'd be fine. We can get Otto Porter for 40 games, and I don't want 40 beginning games. I want 40 at the end of the season games. We can get 40 at the end of the season game. That's pretty good. Because I don't know, a lot of people think he's one moment away from being injured. It really does seem so. I know he himself wants to destroy that stigma about himself, but it's there. It's there. It's clearly there, and you want him to be better, but it's clearly there that he is not a healthy player. His year with the Warriors was his healthiest, 60 plus games, and that's like within the past 5 years. That's his healthiest season. So you're hoping you can get 40 games. That's my thought process. I would like to get 40 games at least from an Otto Porter. So the Raptors team, if you look at them as a whole, right now, if you have to talk about their starting unit, you got, for me, it would be point guard Scotty, 2 is Gary, 3 OG, 4 Pascal, 5 Turtle. That's still a solid starting 5. Good defensive players. I think people sometimes underestimate the fact that Pascal is an All-NBA type player. So let's not forget that we have All-NBA type player. He may not be the flashiest player or the style of play that you love to watch, like a Paul George. He's more of a finesse player in that sense. Now, you still have that guy. So I think that starting unit is still pretty good because Scotty's going to get better. I know people don't want to believe it. Scotty's going to get better. Now your bench, you have a Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench who can give you like 12 points a game. You have a Jalen McDaniels who averaged darn near 10 points with the 76ers last year. Once again, solid defensive player. Otto Porter, who I'm hoping can play 10 minutes a game, can still give you about 6 to 7 points a game if healthy. Still shoots the ball close to 40% from the three. Like, you still kind of want that. If you have a Thad Young, a great veteran presence, then you still have a Precious Achua, and you still have a Chris Boucher, guys who are athletic, energy guys who can help you win some games. And then you have Grady Dick, who can probably be your best shooter on the team. So you still have a solid roster. Now, does it need to kind of, own itself back in? Does it need some more pieces? Of course it does. Which leads me to saying, once again, what's next for the Raptors? What's next? Well, it sounds like they're going to pay Gary more and give him a longer extension. Now, that leads me to the Pascal stuff. All this Pascal doesn't make sense. To me, you pay him, not this season, because he's not going to want to sign anything. And I hear he may think about it, but you pay him now or pay him in the offseason. His trade asset becomes higher because teams are going to know that you still have 4 years left with him. Why would a team give you ultimate value knowing the fact that Pascal has the opportunity not to stay on that team? So unless Pascal's getting traded to Dallas, then what's the point? He really would have to get traded to Dallas, and Dallas has no one to give you unless they're really going to give up Hardy, which wouldn't be bad. I think Hardy has the ability to be a really good 6-man, potentially like a starter shooting guard with a bunch of other talented guys around. It's one of those things that make you think like, man, if Fred was going to leave, was Portland really about trading Pascal? It makes you think maybe you would have wanted that. But I think if you're not going to get that type of package, why would you want it? I'm sorry, you're going to aim high. Like, I need a Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell type package for Pascal Siakam because I know how valuable he is. I know that he won a title. Rudy Gobert didn't win no damn title. Donovan Mitchell didn't win no title. So these two guys didn't win the title. I know Pascal did, being the second best player on the team. Seeing Pascal grow in every aspect of offense possible, he's grown. It's 3-point shooting hasn't been great. But other than that, he can be capable of it. All of these things Pascal has grown on. And yes, I'm a Pascal stan. You can clearly tell I love Pascal. So he's one of those players I wouldn't want to lose. He's the type of guy that if the 65 game mark was established last season, would have been an All-NBA player. But certain guys got it after 50 games. Did they deserve it? That's up to the debate for someone else on another day. But if I'm saying right now Pascal's an all-NBA player, he is. You don't just trade all NBA player. And if Scotty improves, why wouldn't you not just keep them together? And what gets me the most is that Pascal wants to stay. Now, is this stuff gonna make him feel a type of way? Is he gonna kind of feel a little bit sour about the Raptors because it's like he's constantly in trade rumors? Yeah, I'm not sure if Jaylen Brown's going to stay with the Celtics after his contract, or if he decides to, opt out of his contract next year because he can do it. Pascal, I see Sabonis right side. Dejounte Murray has the ability to opt out. All these guys can opt out, and they're all looking for deals, right? But if you don't treat me well, why am I going to stay? And that could be a Pascal thought. That could be a Jaylen Brown thought as well. If you guys aren't going to treat me well now, I'm going to leave later. Everyone says that's why Gordon Hayward left the Utah Jazz because they didn't pay him what he wanted to be paid, didn't treat him the way they should have treated him. Now, Pascal being as good as he is, you don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose a Pascal for like bits and pieces. You don't have your next year draft pick. And if you are a bottom team that ends up being top 10, that draft pick goes to the Spurs. So you know what? You need to win. The Raptors need to win. But Masai's not and Bobby are not being ignorant to the fact that, maybe they should have traded that first round pick next year. Let me ignorant to the fact. But what they can't be ignorant to is the fact that you got to win. Because next year, you lose your draft pick. It's pointless. Then we did it all for what? Why would you sign Jakob Poeltl? Really, honestly, I know there's a couple teams that may want to get him in, the middle of the season for trade deadline, things like that. But why would you want to do all that? Why keep a Yak? Then are you gonna think of trading OG? A lot of people are like, no, you don't trade OG, you build around OG and Scotty. I don't know about that. I seen the report that OG wants to handle the ball more and become more of an offensive hub. Okay, so if OG can become a Mikal Bridges, then I'm all for it. But I haven't seen it. I've been watching Raptors for a while. I've seen OG handle the ball and it hasn't been pretty. I've seen OG become or supposed to be the number one guy, and he didn't do it. Fred had to take over. That's why Fred became an all-star, because we've been every single year looking at OG and going like, this is your year, OG. This is the time you're going to step up. OG's going to be that guy, and we haven't seen it yet. So to me, if we're not going to see it then, or nor if we have seen it then, I don't believe we're ever going to see it with OG. So to me, we stopped the OG talk. The OG's not going to be it. OG's not the guy that's going to be the second coming of a championship team. He's just not him. I don't see it. Pascal has proven to be him. OG has not. I think Scotty has a lot of potential. There's so much guys that we've seen more from, but I just don't see it with OG. Frankly speaking, I don't. So that's where I kind of see with this team. I still think it can be a pretty good team. I see Pascal. This is the type of season you got to go like a 25-8-7. Really, he has to go 28-7. He needs to be in that conversation. And I mean in that conversation. Scotty, if he's the point guard, I'm expecting about 9 assists a game. Yeah, I'm expecting 18 and 9 from him. 18 and 9 in great defense and to hunt mismatches. Heck, if we get 19, 9 and like 4, I'm pretty good. I mean, his rebounding may have to go down because of Poeltl. But those are 3 guys I'm actually expecting to get all the rebounds. Like really, of course, with the Precious and Boucher, you're expecting some stuff as well. But that's what you're really looking for, ultimately speaking. Now you have that. Let's talk about Precious and Boucher. Now, when we talk about Precious and Chris Boucher, I'm gonna be honest. I think Precious Achiuwa should get traded. I know some people really like Precious Achiuwa. I'm not trying to deny that Precious Achiuwa is a good player. But in saying that, I don't think Precious Achiuwa is the player that Masai may want him to be. I think when we look at a guys like a Fred and a little bit of an OG, but definitely a guy like Pascal, we see the growth of them as players. And we're anticipating that Precious can be that way. I'm hoping he can be that way. I think Precious has better physical tools than a Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam just uses his talent to become the best player he can be. Precious Achiuwa has more physical tools. He can shoot the three. His ability to shoot the three is his mechanic, I should say. His mechanics on shooting the three is better than a Pascal. It's much better than a Pascal. So in saying that, I believe Precious has a high ceiling. But from last year, maybe I'm just down on it. Maybe I'm just really down on Precious. Maybe I'm just not seeing it at the current moment. Right now, my thing is so I got to make it look fresher. Then now that's perfect. Now I that's for Precious. But I don't think Precious can get traded. I think Messiah loves Precious. I think unless you have to add him to a deal that you get a guard, I think you do it. We're all hearing the Dame rumors. You're hearing and I'm hearing it. I think with Dame Lillard, if he is available, he gets traded. I don't know. I don't want to talk about him and Scott. I don't. They didn't trade for KD, but if Dame is gone, I'm calling for once again. I mentioned this guy multiple times. Anthony Simons. They can't be asking a lot. They really can't. Maybe they can get the worst pick for you this year if you choose to. Ultimately, that's not going to be a thing. But they just give you Anthony Simons because they're going to tank anyway. And then you just give him Precious Chua and maybe that young. Or you give him Precious a young player. You may have to give that. Or you have to give a Chris Boucher and that young because that's where the money matches for Anthony Simons. Maybe you do all three for an Anthony Simons. But that's the guy I'd be looking for. A starting caliber shooting guard who you believe can give you about 20 points a game. Because I've been saying it as much as I'm going to miss Fred, I think the Raptors need a bucket getter. I think someone who can be the bucket getter, to be the person who can get buckets at a consistent rate. And I don't know if they have that right now. As much as I love Pascal, I think Pascal can give you 25 points a game. I don't think he's that bucket getter. I think you need the Jamal Murray type, a Donovan Mitchell type, even like a Malik Monk type. Like, and I know you can say that's Gary. If Gary steps up, Gary's only 24. If he steps up, then anything is possible. An improved Gary Trent Jr. That could be another sky's the limit. Him, OG, and Scotty, those three guys getting better, like actually following Messiah's plan of growing those three guys. Oh, it's gonna only help Pascal. And I think it's what Pascal needs. Pascal may have his worst defensive season because he's gonna need those three guys to take a lot more on overall within their games. But yeah, if I'm the Raptors right now, I'm thinking like, who could I trade? Can I trade a Chris Boucher? I think you can. I think right now Chris Boucher and a Precious Chua, their games kind of offset each other. You got to play Koloko because at the end of the day, you draft him 31st overall. You believe he's a good defender, and I think he can be a really good defender. And I think he can be a very solid rotation player, giving you 12 to 15 minutes a game. So if he can give you that with some potential, some corner threes, that's an asset that you have right there. The guard play, like I said, you have a Dennis Schroeder. Maybe you can see something in certain guys like Jeff Down Jr. You let Delano Banton go. Now he's with Boston. I actually hope the best for Delano Banton. He's Canadian, so I'm hoping he like shines with Boston. I hope I think it's a team option, so that if anything, they may pick up the second one. But I hope he develops so much that they they don't pick it up so he can get more money elsewhere. Teams don't obviously do that, but I'm hoping the best for Delano Banton as a whole. Now you're hoping a Jeff Down Jr. Performs well, another guard. Heck, you have Malachi Flynn. You got to do something with that too. Malachi, you like I said, you have Malachi, you have Jeff Down, you have Dennis, you have all these guys. But maybe you got to package some of these guys. Maybe package a Malachi and a Chris Boucher. Maybe you have to add a Thad Young for money, and you call up Washington and see who you can get. They maybe don't want to trade a Corey Kispert, but I think if you have a Corey Kispert and you have a Jordan Poole, kind of offset, just give us a Corey Kispert. Of course, I'm asking for a lot. I think the Raptors need someone else. They need, and mind you, this is if you believe that Gary Trent's going to be your starting shooting guard. You still need an additional depth in the backcourt because you did lose your point guard in Fred VanVleet. So you need someone who can get you some baskets, who can do all that for you as a whole. So, where the Raptors are, it's tricky, it's very tricky. You want to believe this team is a piece away, but losing Fred VanVleet, you may be a piece and a half, maybe 2 pieces away now. Now, you want to see Scotty improve. I want to see Point Scotty. Some people want to see the team, evolve around Scotty Barnes, that, a guy like Pascal is going to hurt his growth. I don't see that. I think when you're a talented player, I don't think another player can hurt your growth. Shaq never hurt Kobe's growth. Kobe never hurt Shaq's growth. They just didn't want to play together. You know, Kobe was still an all-star. He's still an NBA player. All that stuff still happened. You know, David Robinson never hurt Tim Duncan's growth. I don't believe if we, and these are all-time greats. I'm not saying Sky's gonna be all-time great, but I'm saying you can make it work. When you have two solid guys, you can make it work. And they really don't overlap each other because Scotty wants to be a point guard. Pascal does not. He likes to handle the ball, and then he can kind of get guys a little bit off the dribble, things like that. But he's not really doing what Scotty's doing. He's not making those intricate passes. He's not really trying to set up the team in any type of way where you can tell that's what he wants to do. Um, Other Raptor news: they signed Grady Dick, they signed Noel. I kind of like Noel. It's like you lose Fred VanVleet and get a new Fred VanVleet. He's 5'8". He played on a pretty good team. Made it all the way to, I believe, the Final Four in NCAA. He's a good player. Had one of the best plays in the tournament, if not the best play in the tournament. That no look, arguing with his coach and passing it to the guy to dunk. This to Cavante Johnson. This Kansas State. But yeah, it's a good guy. I'm hoping he can make it. I believe the Raptors kind of like a guy who, once again, kind of has to bet on himself. And I believe Noel has to bet on himself. He has to bet on his talent. Maybe a guy, give it a few years, he'll still become something. Maybe he could become a backup bench player. So all in all, what you're hoping for the Raptors to do the next couple days, next couple weeks, is make a trade. I don't think, like I said, to trade Pascal doesn't make sense. Like I said, I've heard Atlanta's name. Maybe think that it's Pascal for DeJounte. But to me, if you're trading with Atlanta, they don't have no draft picks. So what are you really getting from Atlanta? You're really not getting much. So I would want that. Like, you got to trade with a team that has like something, like the Jazz. The Jazz have something. Markkinen can play the three, but they just traded for John Collins. But I'm just saying, if there was a team, you traded for a team that has a lot of assets that can give you a bunch of stuff. A lot of teams can't. There's already a report of maybe Dame for OG and some stuff. That could happen because right now, it's not, the ball's not in Portland's court. It's really in the other team's court. It's wherever Dame feels the most comfortable going to. He doesn't have a no trade clause, but there's no way a team is going to do something stupid and disagree with a star player. Because then trust me, you'll never get a star player again. If you don't think what Boston did to Isaiah Thomas is going back to hurt them, it will go back to hurt them. Trust me on that. 100%. People are not going to want to sign with Boston for that exact reason. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have that in the back of their minds. Don't ever think they do not. Especially if you just traded Marcus Smart, your heart and soul of the team. Guy who thought he was going to stay with this team, no. There's no loyalty in that sense. But yeah, if you're the Raptors, you can look at that type of trade. But once again, to make the team better, you look at a Precious Achiuwa, you look at a Chris Boucher, you look at a Thad Young. Okay, these are overlapping talents. What can I get? What kind of guard depth can I get? What kind of additional shooting can I get? And that's what I think Masai and Bobby are starting to do now. They're going to start looking at these three guys and seeing what can I do. Yes, could they potentially trade Pascal? If you've seen the way Masai Ujiri is, he's never trading Pascal unless he's winning the deal. He has to win the deal. It has to be something that he believes that can help him in the future. And I'm not sure if you can see that right now for a lot of the teams that want a Pascal. But tell me what you guys think. This Raptors week, I don't know. It's going to be crazy. Hopefully I can do another video. I probably will do another video about Pascal's leadership and what we have to see from Pascal this season now that Fred VanVleet is gone. I'm more looking at Pascal has to improve in the leadership category more than anything else. Tell me what you guys think. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again. Peace.